Welcome, everyone, to Heart of the Artist, where we talk with a female poet every week, shed a little light and love on the magic, the history, the her story, all the good things. And this week, we have a fantastic poet, amazing woman, Kristi Scribbles. So excited to have you here. And so before we get into this amazing interview with her, we have our weekly list of housekeeping things. So, line of the week. Very excited about this one. This is from S.Z. Putnam's poem, Dead Alpha. And it's from her book, Shallow City of Noise. Now it has come to pass that among the last curved tongue shall you be found in shallow valleys where the sun has not risen. So that is S.C. Putnam, Dead Alpha, and the book is The Shallow City of Noise. This book is actually nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, and it is published by Red or Green Books. You can find it at www.redorgreenbooks.com. So check that out. Our poetry contest of the week. This is the Tom Howard and Margaret Reed Poetry Contest. This is for both published and unpublished work. $10,000 in prizes. Submissions are from April 15th through October 1st. So you got plenty of time, and you can check that out at www.winningwriters.com. Our open mic of the week is an Instagram open mic with Blood Brother Mike, and it's called What's on the Grill with Blood Brother Mike. This is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And Blood Brother Mike is just a delightful host. He is full of Southern charm, very easy to talk to, creates a lovely space, very supportive and fun, and the man knows his poetry. So check him out on Instagram. And then our poem of the week, this one is, you know what? Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I had the names wrong. On our line of the week, that was Tabatha Adams from Shallow City of Noise. So Tabatha and S.Z. Putnam, I'm so sorry for getting your names confused. The poem of the week is by S.Z. Putnam. This is the one that is nominated for the Pulitzer. This is Loose Change, Picking Up the Pieces. And this is called I Lost You. You withdrew from me so unexpectedly. I didn't notice you were missing until you were gone, like a mitten from last season, the single sock, the spare key, the last puzzle piece, gone. So many moments I felt I almost lost you. So many. Our shared lifetime of this, it takes my breath every time you slip. If I were being honest, I recall the night I lost you, though it's a fading memory. I was too scared to verbalize your demise, sitting there, your refracted stare of despair, the one I had started to notice but never dared to compare. I was paralyzed by it all. You transformed into a fraction of yourself, finding distraction. And eyes that I once begged to drown in were slowly drowning me. I knew that night I lost you. That is S.Z. Putnam and Loose Change, Picking Up the Pieces, also published by Red or Green Books. So please check that out at www.redorgreenbooks.com. And again, I apologize to the two poets for getting the names mixed up. I had my notes written down incorrectly here. So now, the guest of the hour, Kristi Scribbles, please unmute yourself. I'm so excited to have you here. I asked a couple of people about you, and one of the people that I asked was Finn Bell, and of course everybody knows Finn, and she called you goddess. You are revered, you are treasured, you are valued. Your poetry is beautiful and on point and amazing. And you sing. I heard you sing last night, which was fantastic. So I didn't know that you did that too. So like let's get into it. Let's talk. When did poetry come to you, or is it the other way around? When did you come to poetry?
I quit drinking alcohol on my 40th birthday in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And after I quit drinking and, big shifts in life happen, I was downstairs doing laundry and I kept hearing, sit down and write, sit down and write. And I just couldn't get it out of my head. And so downstairs was the craft room. So it had that big craft paper sitting on the table, my son's craft paper. And I just started writing, and poetry started coming out. And I'd never written poetry before, other than, in school, the poetry, portion of English class. And yeah, so poetry started coming out, and that's how my channel begun. I am a channel, and it was one of the most amazing moments of my life, because what came out was, transmutation. Things that were bottled up inside started coming out through poetry. That's where it started.
So was this almost a kind of a form of like shadow work for you?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a form of, just it was something about the taking what was inside and putting it down on the paper that shifted things for me. And I realized then, I don't know if I actually realized it, but looking back, I realized that I was an artist, and the art was needed in my life to help my healing journey, to help work through some things that I had been, storing away, or, pushing down for many, many years.
So this was obviously a Rubicon crossed for you.
Mm.
And obviously it was very intense, and it's something that was very important and meaningful in your life. When you look back on that time, do you judge yourself on the what do we want to say? You were a beginning poet at that point, right? So your craft probably was different than it is now. Do you look back on those early poems and beat yourself up because your craft was different than it is now, or do you accept the value of that work?
Yeah, it's always hard, difficult looking back, because at the time I was so proud, and I couldn't understand that this was coming out of me. And it was a different, it was a very, four lines, very rhyming. Everything was in, the same energetic flow. And looking back, it is hard to read them. Like, I love them, but it is a little hard to read them, because I've grown so much as a poet now, but I still appreciate those first poems.
Were those first poems of a what emotional character were they, of, heartbreak or introspective, or like what were they like?
I did a lot of reflection of my early 20s. I had an extremely traumatic event the year I graduated college. So it was a lot of working through those events. But also, I had, how old was he? He's 8 now. So that was, so, he was young. He was 4 then. So I had a 4-year-old son. So they would, oscillate between those deep down, traumatic events. And then, playing with my son, I would do a silly poem about cooking, and, with him or something. So they were both.
So how did you handle it when you're there and you're playing with your son, you're, in the middle of this thing, and all of a sudden you've got words in your head that you've got to do something with them or else they're going to go somewhere else. How did you handle that? Did you like voice record or just have a notebook handy? Like, what did you do?
The Notes app on my phone is what I use because I'm always around, running around, laundry, playing, being a mother. So yeah, and it was like that. It still is like that for me. I would hear a line, and it would just repeat, and it would just feel like there was something to do. So I would have to get it out quickly, and they came pretty quickly, and they still do. I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, the Notes app on my phone is what I use.
I hope you kept that phone with all of those notes.
I do. I still have it. Now it's cracked. The front of it's cracked. It's barely holding on, but I can still charge it. I can still look at it. So I still have it.
You never know. You might want to, like, I don't know, someday put that sucker on eBay and sell it for, $1 million. You never know what could happen.
That's right.
I love that though, that all of a sudden just words started pouring out of you. That is absolutely just beautiful. Um, I went through a similar experience, so I'm just sitting here loving that you had a similar event. What helped you sort of transition out of that sort of purgative state and move into your next phase as a poet?
Well, right after I, started writing poetry, the pandemic hit. And so we were stuck inside. And, I lived in a very small town. We moved a lot, so I didn't have a lot of friends. So for when the pandemic hit, I went online and I started to find these beautiful communities of poetry. Instagram is what really connected me, and then through that portal I found all of these communities and writing circles, and just to sit with other people, and they would give prompts, and that kind of changed the avenue of my poetry and changed my life because it gave me a connection that I desperately needed, and allowed me to find some of the most beautiful souls I've ever met.
Did you were you mentioned that you stopped drinking alcohol.
Mm.
Were you also doing like an AA or anything like that alongside of the poetic therapy you were doing?
Not really. It was just my 40th birthday, and I kept hearing, you need to, and this was right before the pandemic, right? So I feel like there were these two paths, right? So if I hadn't chosen that one path to stop drinking, and I feel like the pandemic might have taken me down a route, being alone and isolated. So it really was just kind of like a breakup. We had a long history from the traumatic event that happened to me when I was in college. And yeah, it was more of a breakup. But I do, support everyone that goes through AA and deals with it that way. I just wasn't my avenue.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you were able to come through that, and to hear the power and the resolve and the confidence, in your voice is just fantastic. And you do have an amazingly distinct voice. Can you remember what is the like the first poem that you wrote that was different from your original style?
Hmm. Now, see, that's going to be hard for me because I feel like I'm a completely different person. So it's even hard for me to remember my poetry. It's almost like I have to go back and look at, the documents, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I click on those poems, and it feels like somebody else wrote it. And so it's hard for me to recall poetries, those exact poems, but a lot of, I'm trying to think. Let me think. Hmm. I think, yeah. I don't know if I can do that, but it's so weird. I was thinking about this just the other day, going through, thinking about poems I would read here, and it's just an odd feeling when you read them and you can't remember writing them.
I understand where you're coming from with that. I truly do. So, what is the first one that you remember writing and thinking to yourself, this is really different from where I started?
Mm, yeah, well, one of them I picked for tonight
Yeah.
to read, well, this evening, or afternoon, wherever you are. It is about my father, and I think this one really was a big shift in my poetry. And when I found the healing modality through writing and through poetry and the transmutation, how um, and how I just let it flow and I didn't have to rhyme, and that was okay. I think that first time when you write that poem and it doesn't rhyme and you just let it come, it's magical. But I still love rhyming. Don't get it twisted.
Well, now you have both tools in your back pocket, and that is a wonderful thing. Would you like to go ahead and share the one about your dad? We'd love to hear it.
Sure. Okay, here we go. Eyes so cloudy. Sometimes I see glimpses inside his smile, his laugh, his eyes. Yes, in his eyes. That's where he lies. That's where the old him lives. The him before, the him back then. 'Cause back then, in those growing up years, those formative years, he was there. He was present. He was him. That man that used to be him, that father so free man that threw catch and came to all of my games and taught me stuff in the garage and took care and was my dad, the best dad. I didn't even know what I had until it was gone, until he was gone. Those days that his eyes changed, the person who was him was no more, was never more. It was so many years before I figured it all out and realized what had really taken him. What had really taken him and snatched my dad away from me was the PTSD that snatched him right away from me. The memories surfaced from the view of the NAM and the childhood trauma. It all spilled into his brain, and things started to change, and his eyes started to glaze, and his pupils were so cloudy as storms rolled in and rolled out and rolled away with him with a whisk, with a fury. The PTSD wrapped his mind in a worry, in a person that wasn't him, wasn't he, the dad of me, never again to be, never again to be. He fights and he fights, but the battle just wins, and his mind turns the screws of the war in the jungle. Those screens, those scenes kept alive by the replaying of loops, and the dad that I grew up with just changed into a new version, a new person that didn't have space for me anymore. His mind was too cloudy, and his eyes couldn't see me, couldn't really see me, couldn't even hear me. I needed him to hear me. But he was lost, lost inside his head, and the voices talked and confused him. And people just used him and took and took and took, and I couldn't even look at the eyes that I had loved because they were not his. They were not his, not there. They were not there, and he was so unaware of the love that he gave and the child that he raised, and the good that he did, and the great dadding he did, and sometimes, now in his older years, his grandpa years, his old voice I hear, and his laugh, and his eyes light up as he sees my sister's little girl. His eyes sometimes show me the way back to him. But the trauma is always and will always, always win. The PTSD it stole from me the eyes of he and the dad of she, who is me, who is me, who is he, who is he. Those eyes haunt me. His eyes still haunt me. Mm, I love you, Dad.
It was beautiful.
Mm.
Did your dad get to hear any of your poetry?
Have I read my poetry to my dad? Wow, I love that you brought that up. I think I've read a couple to him on the phone. I have not read that piece to him because I don't want to bring back memories. So, but I have read a couple of, and I sent him my book, and so he's very proud in his own way, you know. But I'm just glad that there's some healing in that energy now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Obviously, you have a great reverence and love for your dad. Did your creative spirit come from him?
I think part, yes. I think he was always doing something, always making something in the garage, always, fiddling around, fixing things. Um, I think my loving spirit came from him. He always, growing up, was always so loving and had so much time for me and my sisters. And so, yeah, so much of me comes from him.
I love that. Do the people in your family embrace your poetry and want to hear you read your words? Or do they are just kind of like, oh, that's really nice?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. um, uh, you know, they have embraced it as much as they can from their own lives. I don't, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but my immediate family, yes. But I think as artists, we often want other people to validate us, and we're just looking for, that little Kristi is just looking for them to say, you finally came out of your cave, you finally found yourself again after all of those lost years, and we're so proud of you. And yes, there was some of that, but not as much as I would like.
A friend asked me recently, you know, how do you handle it? We went to this open mic together, and there wasn't hardly anyone there, and the people that were there had not come for the purpose of hearing poetry. So, I was up on the stage doing the thing, and it was largely going ignored. My friend, of course, was very vocal in her applause and approval, which was great. And she said, I don't know how you do that, just get up there. And I said, because as a poet, you get used to that. You get used to the fact that the only people who really, really want to hear your poems are other poets. So when you're in a restaurant full of, regular people who aren't poets, it doesn't bother you. You don't expect them to be like, yes, more. And
Hmm.
families kind of, kind of the same way. It's like they love you and they're proud of you for doing it, but it's sort of a removed pride, in a
Mm.
way, a peripheral pride, because they're not in that space with you. They don't understand really, what it's like to be in that space and be writing. And so,
Yeah.
but you seem like you have handled that quite well. So, do you have other family members at all who write prose or poetry?
I don't think so. No, I think my mom used to write. Now, like, you just sparked a memory, right? I think my mom used to write when she was in high school, and she thought she would be a writer. I'd never even thought of that. So, yeah, I would say my mom back in the day. But other than that, no, I'm really the only artist of the family.
Wow,
Well,
maybe
I
you
believe
deserve to
everybody, I believe
know.
everyone are artists, right? I believe art is very important. I believe that is such, what's wrong with our society. People don't look to their own inner artists, but officially I'm pretty much the only one.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could encourage her and y'all do a mother-daughter collab.
Oh, I love that. You're right. I
Yeah.
need to, oh, yeah, I
Knock
love
her off her
that
pedestal
suggestion.
and get a little fire going there.
Mm,
Well, if
yeah,
you guys do that, you got to bring her to some of these wonderful open mics, and maybe on a night when Thomas and Catalyst's mom, is in there as well. So she would be in good company with another mom and feel
yeah.
comfortable and everything. But that would be fabulous to see you guys do a collab. So
Mm. Yeah, she's so supportive in everything I do, and my sisters too.
So what's the most unusual poem that you've ever written?
Well, I picked my most unusual poem, one of them, to. It's one of my favorite, most, unusual, quirky, weird poems that I picked to read tonight. So, let me get to it.
Yeah, let's get into it. I love it.
Do you want me to just go ahead?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So it's called On the Wall. From this wall, this view, these kaleidoscopic eyes, your world seems small to me. So strange, so centered on self, on distraction, and on those screens. What is on those screens anyway? Why do you continually stare at all of those boxes? Big ones, little ones, everywhere. What could be so important? As I buzz, trying to figure it all out back and forth, up and down, high and low, they're still staring at those screens. This is getting a little weird. They never seem to look away. As I buzz, enjoying each new thing, new room, new smell, and oh, the smells, the food that you get to enjoy, ripe fruit, yummy noodles, sweet, sweet sodas, the taste that you get to taste, so inviting, so intoxicating, so cerebral. I am so jealous. As I buzz, caught inside this house, this place of mystery, with so many windows that trick my eyes and my sense of direction. I just wanted a taste, to visit for a while. I wasn't looking to be stuck. I didn't want to be imprisoned. Help me. Please help me find my way out. Why do they never go outside? Just open a door, open a window, quit looking at those fucking screens, please. For the love of God, for the love of mercy, open this window, open a door, go outside, let me out. I must get back, don't you see? To that place, to that smell, to that calm, to that beauty. This fun house ain't so fun anymore. Why, oh, why are you all still watching those boxes? Just swatting me away, just pretending I'm not here? Please, anyone, somewhere, somehow, help me as I buzz and I buzz. When will this be? When will this all be over? When will I be free? Free to find space, to find sun, to feel free again. Okay, okay, I think this is it. Something is happening. You're finally looking up, looking away from the screen. Ah, yes, this is the moment I have been begging for. You are going to open it, open the door to freedom. Finally, it's here. Freedom to fly in nature again, to be free from all of your screens again. But wait, what's that? What's in your hand? Why are you coming towards me and not the door? Wait, what? Why? No! I love that
I love that. I knew that was coming too. I was like, oh no, oh no. That is fantastic. What was the inspiration? Like, what prompted you to go there? I love it that you put yourself in a completely different physical being's headspace. That's amazing.
one. I can't remember the prompt on that one. I It might have been, I think maybe I was in a workshop
Mhm.
and there was a prompt, but I can't remember. And now I wish I would have written down all of the prompts along with the title so I could remember those things.
Absolutely. Do you like writing to prompts? Is that something that you enjoy?
It always pushes me out of my comfort zone. My comfort zone is very much, I'm a channel. I work with my guides on the other side, my angels, my divine team, and so I'm comfortable in that lane. So I like prompts and workshops because it pushes me outside that lane. You
Mhm.
know.
How would you describe your style, your word flow?
Mm. Yeah. Well, I'm also an energy worker, so I use like channeled tonal energy. So everything to me is about the vibration, the rhythm, the frequency. So it's all about how it feels in the body. So I write and then I go back and I say it out loud. And if something doesn't feel like it's in the flow, I have to change it. So
Mhm.
I would say, yeah, rhythm.
I feel a lot of times when I listen to you that there's a very sort of stream of consciousness, like I'm on sort of this river of consciousness just sort of flowing and going, and it's really unique. I love it. And
Yes, definitely stream of
there's
consciousness.
definitely that metaphysical, that metaphysical aspect underlying all of it. I looked on your Etsy store, and on your Etsy store, you call yourself the Poetry Alchemist, which
Yeah.
I loved. Where did you come up with that, and what does that mean?
The Poetry Alchemist came to me when I was sitting in meditation with my guides. I just kept hearing the word alchemy, being able to take one emotion and transform it into something else. And I do feel like that is art what art does, and how it is magical in that way, and so important. I think as a society, we get lost in, oh, well, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to go to therapy, which is also so important. But, I think we are taught to, put that imagination part of us aside, that art part of us aside. And I think it's so important that those things, that we take those things into being an adult. Why can't they be fun? Why can't art be used to heal? And I think that's why I love the community that we have within these spaces, because that's what people do. Just an example, poet Sophia Falco, that's what she does within her work. And it's just inspiring and so important.
You're so right. And I don't know when we start to do that as a society. I mean, obviously we encourage young kids, right? Finger paint and do all of these fun creative things. Let's do crafts, let's do all of these things. And then somewhere along the way that drops off, and then it's almost like it becomes pigeonholed after that. Like, oh, you do arts, you do your scrapbook, you do your arts and crafts, unless you are a quote, you know, artist. It's almost like it's unusual. Um, I won't go so far as to say odd, but I know when I first started writing, my family was their reaction was, "You're doing what?" So yeah, I mean, you're totally right about it. We need to normalize poetry.
Yeah. Well, I think it really is the systems that we live within, right? That capitalistic colonialism systems of, patriarchy that we live in. You must do this to make the most money. You must work the most hours to do this, be the cog in the system so that the rich get richer. I could go on and on. So I think that, what we're seeing now in society is those systems being taken down. So I'm using my imagination to imagine a society where community is the base, and where artists and are part of the community, and people look to them to help and to create.
Absolutely. If you think about Japan, Japanese culture, they're incredibly creative as a society. I mean, they have, these art forms that have come out of their society. And, my perception is that a lot of that creation comes from the fact that the society is so very repressive of individualism, that these art forms have come about as a way to, it's socially acceptable to express yourself, through them, in ways that they're not able to do. So we're not hindered so much in that way. Our society values individualism, but like you said, we are repressed in other ways. So it's kind of interesting from a just a macro cultural perspective.
Oh, I love that. I never even thought of that. My son is obsessed with Japan. He wants to go, so I told him we have to save money to go. But yes, I think, I think there's a balance there, right? So both of them are out of balance. Like, to be too individual,
Mhm.
we forget that we are all, as I feel, we are all connected. We are a collective, a community. We are human, and we're all connected through source, through that whatever you believe in. And so I think you can veer off too far, and you forget that, oh wait, I'm connected to the person that's walking down the street. I'm connected to the homeless man that is there and that is hungry. We have, almost boxed ourselves into our own homes.
Absolutely. It's very easy to just say, I don't know what's going on with him, but that's not my problem.
Mhm.
Well, you just cut off a part of yourself.
Exactly. That's what I believe. They are me.
Yeah, I think you and I are going to find that we're aligned in a lot of ways. That'll be a fun discussion to have after, maybe after the interview's over, we can get into some fun stuff like that. So,
Yes.
what is the shortest poem? Can you remember, or do you have access? What's the shortest poem you've ever written? And the other question is going to be, what's the longest poem you've ever written?
I don't know my shortest poem I've ever written.
We have certain artists like Nemo Soom, for example, right? He sort of dabbles in that micro poem space and does an absolutely brilliant job of it. And then we have some folks in sort of the opposite end of it, like, say, for instance, C.P. Mays, who writes very long poems, right? And yours seem to be sort of situated, in that middle ground. Is that something that just sort of flows naturally from you? That's the length that just sort of comes out and feels comfortable?
Yeah, I know I have written shorter poems, probably in, workshops where I'm given the prompts and, the haikus and um, but yeah, I, I think they can go on long, but usually it's about the middle area. But I love all variety, but I can't recall a specific one.
I recall, see what you think of this existential statement. I recall a conversation with Nemo and Solon Speaks, Chanson. And if you know Chanson, he is trying to break the world record for haikus. And
Yes.
we were on an Instagram call, and I said, I am just so frustrated with haiku. I just cannot hit the right number of syllables, and I'm just tired of trying. And Nemo said, do you need more rules or fewer? And I was like, dude, that's like, you just defined the existential crisis of my life. Wow. So, do you need more rules or fewer?
Oh, well, I've always hated rules. So I think that's, form poetry just almost makes my skin crawl. Like, don't tell me how to do it. I want to do it my way. Um, so I'm always in awe of people that can write specific forms of poetry and how many forms there are. It just blows my mind. It almost feels like I'm too restricted when I'm trying to do it, but I do enjoy it every once in a while.
So what about your writing disciplines? Do you have specific pens that you like to use, or a specific place that you like to sit, or what are your things that you like to do in order to get yourself into your best writing space?
Mm. Well, I do a lot of well, my guides are saying, you could have a little more discipline, a little more structure in your writing life. So I'm going to put that out there. But yeah, I sit on my meditation mat, either inside or outside. And I journal every day. And so I have whatever pen that's around. I have a million pens, so I don't have a particular pen that I love. Um, but yeah, I think it is more of a feeling for me, and I think that sometimes I should sit down. Yep, they're saying you should sit down and do it specifically for the art of writing and sitting down and being structured. A lot of times I just, well, whenever I hear repeating, you know, sentence or word or rhyme in my head, I have to get it down. But I should push myself to sit down and have a particular, structure to it at some point.
Now, you talked about journaling. Do you find that your journaling becomes a source of poems for you?
Yes. Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that. Yeah. A lot of time I'll be journaling and then I'll just get to a particular word or particular whatever I'm going through dealing with, and then I usually switch from that to my phone, which is annoying because I've always wanted to be the poet that wrote everything out in the notebook and wrote the poems, but that's just not how I started with my phone notes app, and that's how it goes. But yeah, I will be journaling, and then it'll hit a point I'm like, oh, I need to write a poem about that, and then I'll go to my phone.
So you have your journal, and that's sort of a distinctive space from the poet, from where the poems are kept. Now,
Yes.
I've recently had a conversation with a couple of different poets about how they organize, because I was the notebook person, right? And then Megas kept getting on to me in the open mics. He's like, I can hear you flipping pages. Put your damn stuff on Google Drive. So I did, which was lovely, except that that sort of carbon dating of the progression of the notebook pages has been lost. And so now I open up this Google Drive and it's just like, bleh, right? But then you have someone like Nemo who numbers his poems with, no titles. And then he has to remember the keyword to find the poem that he wants to read. So there's pros and cons to everything. What do you do with yours?
I use the docs, and I have, all of them in there, and my phone, my notes app. So that's also linked to the computer, so I can find that. Um, but yeah, it's probably a little too chaotic for what I should have. I should probably sit down and organize it more, to give a little, you know, to give a little more respect for the poetry. I feel like I need to I need to organize them a little bit. So maybe this will challenge me and inspire me to do that.
Do you
But
use dates? Do you put date like I wrote this on this date or this year, this month?
yes, yes, yes. I'll date when I wrote them. Yeah,
And then do you use
yeah.
titles or numbers?
Wait, what? I didn't hear you.
Do you use titles or numbers for your poems?
Some of them don't have either, but a lot of titles. Yeah.
So you
I
can,
wish I would have numbered them. How cool! Could you imagine? You know exactly how many you wrote. I love that.
so do you have any idea about how many you've written since you started writing?
I have no clue, but a lot. I don't know. That'd be interesting to find out.
I asked that question last night of AJ Word Artist, and he said that he's lost 3,000 poems that were in some storage, something, whatever, and he's lost them. And I said, my gracious, you lost 3,000 poems? Like, wow. I can't even,
How
I can't even
sad.
contemplate that level what's the right word? Prolificity? Is prolificity?
Pull
Prolificness?
out that big word.
Prolification. We need Teresa Gallion in on this because she is truly the vocabulary woman. She has an amazing vocabulary.
Oh, I
But
love.
that's one of the things that I think is so cool about poetry is that we get to create words, right? We can use the wrong verb tense, use wrong grammar, create things. Have you had situations in your poems where you utilized that freedom?
Oh, I mean, that is why I love poetry. I hate grammar. I hate spelling. I always have. It just somehow my brain just doesn't work that way. So the fact that I can do whatever I want and it doesn't matter. And, sometimes I'll use the word the wrong way or it won't even be a word and I leave it because I love making up words. I love, making something into a verb. I always say I'm poeting or, like I think that's what is fun for me about poetry, is just breaking all of the rules.
Well, and that's a fantastic point, because in doing that, you create a completely different flavor and meaning and emotional tenor to the work, in my opinion, because, use the word poeting. If you used another word that is, accepted in the dictionary, the work would be completely different. The character of the work would be completely different. But by virtue of doing that, you express yourself in a completely unique way. And I agree with you. I love that. Do you have a
You
poem?
don't have to think of commas or periods or, I love it.
Do you have a poem where you can think of that you've done you sort of manhandled the English language a little bit?
I don't know. I don't know. Let me think that I manhandled the English language. How about woman handles?
Woman handled. I like it. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know a specific poem, but I think I always am in awe of people that are good at grammar, and I think I annoy the hell out of some poets and writers because of what that I don't care and I break all the rules, because some poets are very much structured and they want things a certain way and to follow, the grammar rules, which, is totally cool. But yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything specific, but
But
I
that
just
is
know I love
awesome.
it.
Well, next time we're in an open mic, when I hear you do that, I'm gonna be like, there you go. That's the one.
I'll look for one for you. I'll send it to you.
I want you to. I want. So, obviously you're very committed to social justice and a better version of the society that we live in. Talk a little bit about any social justice causes that you have, or charities that you support that you want us to know about. What's in your heart?
What's in my heart? Well, first of all, I would like to say that division is not the answer, right? To divide everyone and saying, what side are you on, us versus them? That's what the systems want, right? They want the people who have the power to be fighting with each other, while the systems are in control, selling their weapons, making their billions of money, billions of, dollars. Um, I think my favorite thing that I can do, that I do on a daily basis, is supporting artists of color, supporting. I love on Instagram, I don't know if you've ever been, where, there'll be a certain day and somebody will put a post and they'll say support these particular peoples and go and Venmo them, and that's what I love. I love buying books. I love getting together and energetically shifting the world. I think that we as a society don't realize how the energy of the collective, how that affects the entire world, right? So it is important to know what's going on in the world. It's important to watch what's happening so you can see, but not to get lost in it, and not to get lost in the media, because the media is run by the big corporations, the money. Um, so don't get lost in that. Hold, for Gaza, I sit and do energy work for them and hold energy for the people that are suffering, for the hostages from Israel. Like there are no sides, there is only humanity. And I just want everybody to know, don't get lost in that. And I think holding energy, yes, you can doom scroll and see all of those things and get lost inside that horrific, um, genocide that's happening, or you could turn it off and sit and pray, sit and do art for the mothers, sit and cook a meal for the mothers and the children that don't have that privilege right now. So I think that's where my activism comes out, and involved with different groups, involved with different spiritual groups that get together and work on how we as a spiritual collective can help in our own way, because not everybody's meant to march, not everybody's meant to yell and scream. There are many factions of revolution. There are many factions of activism, and I think everybody can find their their way to it, and I hope everyone does.
I love that. Being mindful and honoring what other people are going through, trying to put yourself in that headspace and understand what that might be like, what that might feel like, what that might look like, and just paying homage to that and making space for that. I absolutely love that. And I love what you're talking about supporting poets, supporting artists, 50, 60, 70 years ago, we had fewer resources that were dispersed by the government. And so we supported each other individually, a lot of times through churches, but many times directly, come over for Sunday dinner, come have a meal. We supported, and then through over time, we've been fortunate enough to have more support from the government for people who are in need. But I think in some ways we've forgotten that we still need to do exactly what you're doing. And I agree with you very much. There's a poet who's going to the worlds and needed some help, and so they had a GoFundMe going, and so I put some money forth to that, because go do your thing, go represent. And it's such a great gathering, all of the women there just on the stage, just fire. And I wish I could be there. Are you going to that by chance?
No, I was just thinking, oh, to be there and watch that stage, man.
Yes, I hope it will, some part of it at least will end up on YouTube or some other medium where we can get to watch some of that amazing work, because I have to think that it's just fire. So,
That energy in that room, right?
oh yes, I mean, gotta be. I am not a slam poet at all. I don't think that I have that bone, but I admire it very much. I love hearing people who can just inject that power and that passion, into their words. And I would love to attend, one of those festivals. So it'd be great. So, what do you have going on in terms of future publications? Are you collecting work for a book or anything like that? What you got going on?
Well, there's always three or four of those in the works that, I'm working on. But yeah, nothing specific now. Right now, I'm working a lot on my energy work and my channeling. I'm getting ready to take a channeled art class for 3 months where it goes through different forms of art and channeling. So I'm very excited about that. So it's almost like I'm in this the melding of it all. Like there was poetry and there was channeling and there was the mother and the daughter, and now I'm working on combining it all into one. So we'll see where it leads me. Who knows?
I love that. I love bringing that together. I read tarot and actually wrote a poem one day about one of my tarot readings that I had done for myself, and I had never done that before. And it was really, really fun. It was an interesting write, and the poem that came out of it had some really neat stuff in it. So I love that you're sort of blending your spirituality and your metaphysical gifts into one with your poetic gift, and allowing that to lead you down a creative path. I think that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's that healing journey. It's really fucking hard, but to be able to sit on this platform and call myself a channel, call myself a poet is, right? Like that's what it's all about, and not be, oh, they're going to think I'm weird, or oh, they're going to think I'm different. I've just come to this point in life where I'm just like, fuck it, this is who I am, and this is, my voice is needed just like everybody's voice is needed.
Do you think poetry has allowed you and given you the confidence and the freedom to claim yourself in that way?
Oh, I mean, I just got full body chills from that question. Absolutely. Like poetry has given and given and given into me and allowed me to, be comfortable in my skin again. There was a point that I was so uncomfortable that I wouldn't even be able to sit in a Zoom room. I wouldn't be able to go and talk to people or, stand on a stage. And it's allowed me to be okay with who I am. And it's just, I feel like there's a poem in there for me. Like I just got an inspiration. Like I need to write a poem to poetry. Like, yeah.
This is your interview. Grab your phone and record a note if you need to do it. Like, yes, yes. I mean, just tears came to my eyes listening to you say what you just said. And that's absolutely
Mm,
that's amazing. And I love that. And I love that the power of our words, we can heal ourselves. I mean, that's, we are, I feel like we're inundated with these messages in society that the doctor has to heal us, pills have to heal us, medicine has to heal us. And yes, obviously, systemic disease is a real thing that needs medical treatment, but there's so much that we can do for ourselves. And I am right there with you in believing in the power of words to help us heal parts of ourselves. And I'm right there with you in feeling that I'm a much stronger, more in possession of my inner being and more comfortable with my inner being and much more willing to just say, yep, this is who I am, because of the gifts that poetry has given me. And so that's pretty darn special.
mm, yeah.
Well, would you like to read us one final poem before we close out?
I feel like I have a poem that's called The Power of Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm going to read this one.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know. When you said the power of poetry, this is what came up. So here we go. I haven't read it before. Well, it's been a while. The power of poeting. Round the world and home again. That's the poet's way. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I read this one on the stage of the New Eurekan Poets Cafe. Here we go. The power of poeting. Round the world and home again. That's the poet's way. There is no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going. There's no knowing where we're rowing or which way the river's flowing. Is it raining? Is it soaring? Can you feel the poetry pouring, pouring, pouring? Can you feel it, see it, taste it as it pours out of the walls? Down the floor cascades across the room as it washes over us now. We are waist deep in it now. Can you feel it? The poetry pouring from this very surface, from this very flooring, the planks pulsate with it. The walls bounce it from here to there, from there to everywhere, inside this poetry place. As I stand and I face all of the you for the first time of my view of any stage performance, this energy enormous, as the poetry is felt from deep within the walls, from deep within the work, from deep within the hearts of the very start with Miguel Algarin and the poets of the past, and their fight to just be here, their fight to allow our words to just be here, right here. We are here, I am here, you are here, here we are because of them. They went before and fought for poetry, fought for passion, fought for permission to let art live, to let poetry live, to help people live. Now it's our time, our give, our turn. It's now our turn to turn outside these walls and use words to defend, to defeat, to deliver our words. We must deliver for those who came before us, for those who have no fight left, for those who have fought for far too fucking long. Too long, too much, too tired, much too tired. For them, we speak, we perform, we protest, we pulsate. We ask these walls to vibrate into us as we move, as we speak, as we shake. We, the poets, vibrate to eradicate the injustices we see in every day, in every way, in everything. We must poet. Poet, we must. The time to poet is now. The time to poet is now. I call to the walls to enrich our hearts tonight, to take flight into the fight, into the world. Watch out, world. Enter the motherfucking poets. Not a speck of light is showing, so the danger must be growing. Are the fire of poets a-glowing? Is the grizzly reaper mowing? Yes, the movement must be growing, for the poets keep on poeting, and they're certainly not showing any signs that they are slowing. Forgot about that one.
Yes. I got so excited. I almost clicked your button instead of mine. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. I cannot think of a better way to end this show than with that. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing yourself with us. I'm so glad that I have had this experience with you. I feel and I want to talk to you off camera because I feel so many like kinships with you that but you are a special soul. You're an amazing voice, and the poetry community is really lucky to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, I agree. We definitely should talk. But I just want to thank everybody that is in this room, and anybody who watches this, keep going, keep using poetry and art to change the world. And I'm just very lucky that you asked me to be on because I've enjoyed this. I was very nervous. I'm like, oh, who's going to want to hear what I have to say, But I'm just glad that I came, and I'm just glad that you have found this platform because you're just such a natural, and I love this, you giving women a platform to talk and connect.
Thank you so much. That was the goal, and I thank you for those kind words that you feel like we are doing that because it's really near and dear to mine and Catalyst's hearts, and we've had so much fun getting to know amazing women like Teresa and Sophia, and Ma Dukes was here earlier, and the people that we've talked to want to come back and hear the new people that we're talking to, and it's just a beautiful community. And so thank you very much. And so with that, we're going to close it out. So everybody, thank you so much for being with us today. This is The Heart of the Artist, and you have just had the privilege of hearing Kristi Scribbles share her heart in the most amazing way.
Can you give us Kristi's information, like her IG or something? You forgot about that.
Yes, thank you so much. I got so caught up in everything. I didn't even do the logistical stuff. So Kristi, please share. Thank you. Thank you.